bang, I'm hit with the most pain that I've ever had in my life, and I shoot out the wall. I'm yelling in agony. You know, we talk about the devil and the angel, and the devil saying, it's over, Adam, it's over. You know, don't care how many training sessions you completed, you're done.
Welcome to the Success Consultancy's Just Great People podcast, the podcast that introduces you to ordinary people who've done extraordinary things. My name is Barry Eustace, and I'd like to introduce you to today's guest. Hi, everybody. It's Barry Eustace here from the Just Great People podcast. Really delighted to welcome my guest today, Adam Walker. From Ocean Walker. It's not often you interview and have a guest who's dived into the Mediterranean, Gibraltar, swum to Morocco, and then swam back in the same day. But Adam did not only that, he was the first Briton to complete the Ocean's 7 Challenge, which is the swimming equivalent to the 7 summits. And more about that, stung by a Portuguese Man O War, more pain than he's ever experienced in his life, and was a recent contributor to the Be World Class Performance Conference that I attended. Adam was an absolutely outstanding speaker there. Adam, just back from India, welcome to the Just Great People podcast. Really pleased to have you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Barry. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, and Adam's, just as a heads up to the listener and viewer, Adam's got a little bit of a throat and croak issue at the moment, so he's fighting through the...
It's the husky voice. I like to call it husky voice.
It's the husky voice.
Let's put it down to that.
It's really just a fantastic story, and also the most energetic opening to probably any presentation or speech I've ever had. Adam, welcome, and just give, if you will, our dear listener and viewer a background about your extraordinary story.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm very fortunate because I found what I really love, my passion, and that's what life's all about. I was selling kettles and toasters back in 2006, and I'd had this career for 10, 12 years, corporate career, and going in one direction, aiming to be a sales director, aiming to be a CEO, and that was the goal. I have a sports science degree, so sport was always on the agenda for me, and I always dreamt of being that professional cricketer, something in sport, but various injuries, and same old story with people. You get the injury, and then you think, am I ever going to make this? But it never left my head, and at 27, I bought an aeroplane, and as the story goes, my life changed forever. The film was about a guy called Frank who loses his job after 35 years in the boatyard, and he's looking for inspiration. He's looking for something to do and find his way. And he decides to embark on swimming the channel. And there's a moment in the film, and it's a fiction film, but there's a moment where his mates take him on a drinking cruise to France, and they're on the ferry, and he looks out to sea and he says, how mad would you have to be to swim this? And I looked to my friend next to me, and I said, I'm going to swim the English Channel. He said, what are you talking about? My friend said, what are you talking about? I hadn't swam for 7 or 8 years. And when I did swim, it was backstroke. It was short distance, 50 meters. It was never long distance. It was never freestyle. And it was never outside, certainly never outside. But I got this in my head. And it was almost like the stars had lined at that moment. I had to watch that film called On a Clear Day. And it totally changed my life. And I'm quite stubborn. If I say to myself I'm going to do something, then I feel like I have to pursue it. And that's where it started, really. It started from there. But where do you start to do something like this? And the first thing was see if I can still swim, I guess. I was playing water polo. So it was still water based, but I was in goal. So I would swim 5 meters to take the ball, and I would stop it with my big arms. And that's as much swimming I'd done for years and years and years. So there was nothing there to say I could do it, but it just felt like, I don't know, it's hard to describe. There was something pushing me into doing it. It was that light bulb moment that we get. And sometimes you pass it off, am I really capable of doing this? But I think I was there, that point in my life where I thought, do you know what? Let's see how capable Adam is. That's what I want to do. So I went from there.
It's a long journey from the English Channel and from an airline seat to swimming the 7 oceans and the Ocean's 7 Challenge itself. So take us through the journey.
So I'll take you through the journey. Yeah, so the journey was I looked at the laptop initially, see how far it is and how much you have to train and how much it costs and all those things. That was the first step. And that didn't put me off because whenever you take on something, I guess, big or something out of your comfort zone, there's one step, isn't there? That's that first step of, the decision making stage. Can I do it? Am I capable? Does my brain allow me to go there? So once you get through that first stage and you overcome those barriers, that fear, am I really capable of doing something like this? Then the next one was jump in a pool and see how far you can swim. So my goal was 45 minutes. I managed 45 minutes very badly, coughed my stomach up. I was in a right mess, rolled myself on the side, lifeguards coming to see if I'm okay because I'm on the side sort of coughing and spluttering, and very embarrassing, and went to the changing room and thought, this is a bit of a joke. But then because I thought it was a joke, I thought, well, you better go again and make yourself better and improve from there. So I swam 4 times that week. What I should also explain is I had a job. So I was traveling from North Nottingham to Oldham, which is around about an hour and 45 minutes, 2 hours. And I was managing a team of people as well. So there was an expectation that I would be in the office every day. So I had to do that. And you had a clocking in system. And as a manager, I was expected to clock in at least 2 minutes to 9. And so everything was set out. And the way it was set out was the pool would open at around about 6 o'clock, 6 a.m. And I would be able to do my 4 kilometers to get to 7 a.m. And then I had 10 minutes to change. And then I'd have to get in the car in order to make it for 9 o'clock and do my day's job. And that's what went on for 18 months. Times having a lunch break where I would train locally in Oldham, sometimes overnight, where it was just easier to train in a hotel overnight. My boss allowed me that budget to go at a slightly better hotel, which was £10 more, to have a swimming pool so I could train. Didn't tell anyone at the time what I was doing, so no one in the office knew what I was doing. They only saw me with my goggle eyes thinking I drunk too much, but it was the training, obviously. So built up, as I say, 18 months. Now, part of it, I remember after 6 months, I managed to do 5 hours in the pool nonstop. Didn't plan to do it. I planned to do 2 hours was my best. So I went to do the 2 hours, got past the 2 hours, thought, can I do 3 hours? Then it went to 4, then it went to 5. And it went from public swimming to lane swimming, back to public swimming to family swimming. And there's Adam just swimming up and down with lifeguards looking at him very strange. What is he doing? And people glaring over it. Is he okay? Has he lost the plot? Is he just going to swim to oblivion? I don't know. But I got out and I hadn't really drunk anything. So I was very dehydrated, starving hungry, because you're burning around about 1,000 calories an hour, 6,000 calories. But I thought, oh my goodness, I can swim 5 hours. I must now book the English Channel because I can prove I can do it. So I booked the English Channel, having never swum outside apart from holiday. And the problem is, obviously, the English Channel is quite a bit cooler than swimming in a swimming pool. 29 degrees is a swimming pool, 15 degrees is the English Channel. Now, 15 degrees sounds okay, but if you put a cold bath to the top and you measure it, it's about that sort of temperature. So you're swimming all day, so you've got to get used to that. And building up from there, I thought, okay, well, what's my next move? Well, I need to go outside. I need to swim in open water. So I phoned the local National Water Sports Centre in Nottingham. And with my best salesman voice, I managed to convince them that I was this accomplished open water swimmer and that I'm used to swimming in 9 degrees. And I've got someone on the side and I know what I'm doing. Because it was February when I started, so not the brightest time to start. Arrived, it was 9.7 degrees.
That's putting it mildly, I think, Adam, isn't it?
Yeah, not the brightest time to start, but I thought, well, if I can swim in 9 degrees, I can swim in 15. Brilliant. So I saw it as a positive.
Yeah.
To cut a long story short, I lasted 47 minutes, hypothermia, 5 paramedics, couldn't remember where I lived, hardly could remember my name, and I was a mess. I could remember a George Foreman grill. I remember the 12205 removable plates grill that was in the changing room. So that was something how my brain was working at the time with the hypothermia, but I couldn't remember where I lived, which is strange in itself. But 45 minutes of a lukewarm shower, I saw patches of blood coming back to my major organs. As hypothermia, obviously, it's lowering your core temperature. And after 45 minutes of a warm shower, I was still under 35 degrees, which is classed as hypothermic. He actually said to me, another 2 minutes and you probably would have drowned. You would have died. Fortunately for me, they brought a boat out alongside me thinking, why have we let this guy do this? Even though I convinced them. But it was a lesson. And I say it in a jovial way. Obviously it's not, but it's the way I handle things, challenges, and try not to make them bigger than I am. Because if you build them up, then they become far out of reach. And for people listening, you don't want to be hearing, gosh, this happened, and poor me. I think it's about perspective and realizing that you are in control of your own destiny, and you learn about things as well. And it was a big learning. Either I give it up as a bad job, I'm not capable of this, and I fear it, or I wait till it's a little bit warmer, get back into the water, do it sensibly, learn from my mistakes. So that's what I did. I waited till it was warmer, went to Dover. Second time I went in, I managed 3 hours. And after that, I did a 6-hour non-stop swim, which qualifies you for the English Channel. So a bit like life, really, isn't it? First one, I'm close to dying. Second one, I've done 3 hours, and now I've suddenly qualified, and I'm this accomplished open water swimmer who's got confidence again. So with every barrier, there's a way to get through it, and then you grow with confidence. And that's what I learned about life, actually, as well, with everything. So yeah, managed to complete the English Channel, and it was interesting. I was trying to do it on my 30th birthday, but it was belting down with rain. And unfortunately, I had to travel back from Dover in the belting rain, had my stuff packed, went back to the kettle and toaster job for 5 days, and then got the call at 8 o'clock at night one night saying, what do you think? Do you want to do the channel tomorrow? This is the pilot. I said, well, what's the weather like? And he said, well, 50-50. I said, can you give me 60-40 or 70-30? No, it's 50-50. Do you want to do it or not? And I thought, it's a sign. If I say no now, the ocean's 1-0 up. So it's a test. And when it's 50-50, I must say yes. And actually, another 2 occasions, someone said 50-50 on the weather, because the weather's so unpredictable on these swims. You've got currents, you've got tides, you're unassisted, you're wearing swim shorts only. You can't even wear a neoprene hat because it's classed as too warm. You can't have shorts below the knee. Obviously, can't wear a wetsuit. You're not allowed to touch the boat. There's certain rules to it because you have to do it how Captain Webb did it in 1875, which was no wetsuit and unassisted. The fact that wetsuits weren't invented in 1875 is a little bit harsh. If he had a wetsuit, maybe we would have been allowed to wear it. But so you have to do unassisted. And I got across, fortunately for me, 11 hours, 35 minutes, sickness, doubt, of course, 6 hours in. I remember being so sick, and a friend actually sponsored me £20 every time I'm sick. So I made a lot of money for my whale and dolphin conservation charity at the time. That's all I focused on. But yeah, joking aside,
But I mean, the sickness is something that people don't think about. The seasickness and the nausea that goes on through all of this.
Yeah, I mean, you're up and down, obviously the rolling waves, and for someone actually, which is quite funny really, I've always struggled with motion sickness. So for an ocean swimmer who's swam the world's toughest ocean swims, to struggle with motion sickness is probably not a great asset to have. But I've always struggled with it, just that up and down movement. And when I did the English Channel, I was so sick. When you're sick, your brain starts to get self-doubt. And I remember somebody saying to me, look, if you don't take fuel on board, because what I should also explain is every half hour you need to take a drink for energy because you're burning so many calories. But if you're sick, obviously all those calories have gone and the energy's gone. I remember this guy saying, if you don't drink, it's impossible to cross. I can't even remember his name. I can't even see his face. But he became my emotional vampire, because in the moment when I was so sick after 6 hours, I could see the voice, if you like, saying to me, it's impossible to cross. And in that moment, I thought, it's over, I'm finished, because a guy says that it's impossible to cross. And then when I thought about it for 30 seconds, I thought, don't I decide whether it's impossible to cross? Not some guy in my ear, not some emotional vampire. And actually, if I had to swim across to France to save my life and my family's life, I wouldn't even be debating about energy. So get into that mode, Adam. So that's what I shut up about, how sick I was and how far it is. And as Frank says on A Clear Day, when he's about to quit in the film and his mate says to him, you shut up about how far it is and you shut up about how much it hurts, because you don't have a choice. You never did. And I get a shiver every time I say that. I said that to myself. You don't have a choice. You never did. Now, of course, in life, we have choices. The boat's there. But if you don't see the boat there and it's just you, one arm in front of the other, there's no other option than to get across. And it's how much do you want it? And it became part of my DNA, became part of the new Adam Walker to get across the English Channel. And that was so important. I was never going to get any money from it. There was no fame from it. You get across to the other side, you stand on a beach and they clap you and you come back in and it's over. For 18 months of constant training and hours away from home and traveling to Dover 4 hours and swimming 6 hours on a Saturday, swimming 6 hours on a Sunday, going back, falling asleep and starting again the next day doing work and then finding a way to train. So that was the English Channel story. And then, of course, I should also explain I had a shoulder issue whilst training. I took a saving water polo prior to doing this, but I'm used to being injured. I've had both knees operated on, bad back. So I'm used to being injured. I saw a hypnotherapist for the pain. He taught me how to disconnect pain and visualize being positive and all those things, which really helped me. But I made my
Just
deal.
as a question, Adam, when you because the extraordinary thing here is you're dealing with multiple adversaries out there: the nausea, the cold, the hunger, the doubts, the stuff going on in the brain, and absolutely, and you add on top of that injury and pain. How effective was the hypnotherapy in actually allowing that disconnect mechanism to work in your head?
Massive.
I'm asking this on behalf of the dear listener.
Absolutely massive.
Massive.
When I was advised to see a hypnotherapist for that year, pretty much, so it was 18 months from the start. So for 12 months, I was seeing a physio twice a week, one for the shoulder and one for the neck. And it was demoralizing. I would swim on a Saturday, 6 hours, just been so much pain. My shoulder would actually elevate. It would come up, trying to protect me. And I would try my best to sort of soften it and have baths and, do what I could to get it right for the next day. Because at times I was doing back-to-back 6-hour swims. And I would drive to Dover with my arm around the back of the car and trying to open up the shoulder. And there's obviously something wrong, but I didn't want the dream to slip away. So when I saw the physio, and I was pretty down about it, but trying to stay focused on the goal, she said, "Have you seen a hypnotherapist before?" I said, No. What does a hypnotherapist do? I'm thinking, is he going to brainwash me and turn me into something? I was very naive to what hypnotherapists did. Obviously I've heard of them, psychologists and things like that, but I was probably a little bit cynical, if I'm being honest. And then I sat down with this guy who was just so warming, so lovely. And I thought, go with it, Adam. And he said to me, "What's the fear?" I said, "The temperature." He said, why are you worried about temperature? I said, well, because I've heard if you get hypothermia, it can be taken out of your hands. And I'm concerned that I'll get to COLD. And I can't say it now because he taught me not to say that word. So I can't even say it now. So obviously you have to spell COLD, or water not as warm as we would like. And this is actually relevant because he said, on the temperature, just disconnect the word. I said, what do you mean? He said, well, just don't say it. And I said, well, okay, what do I say? And he said, water not as warm as we would like. I said, all right, I'll take that on board. He said, is there any other concerns? I said, well, really, that's one. But even more so is the shoulder. The shoulder is really bad. And I started touching my shoulder. I said, it's so bad, there's something wrong with it. And I was rubbing it. And he said, can I ask you a question? I said, yeah. He said, why do you keep touching it? I said, well, I don't know. I just want you to, I don't know. I'm acknowledging it's bad. And, when I'm talking to you, I'm just letting you know it's bad. He said, every time you touch it, you give it power over yourself. Just don't touch it anymore. So we'll do the session, and then I'm going to ask you the question again. And the hypnotherapist is called Clem Turner. He's fantastic if you need a hypnotherapist. He's almost like a father figure to me. I love him so much. And his wife, Margaret, just beautiful people. And he really cared about this goal as well. Well, you could see it wasn't just about a job. There was massive care. So he said, don't talk about it. Anyway, I go, headphones on, and with every step, you're getting more and more relaxed and all the things that they do. And he comes back and he said, let's just go back to the discomfort. Just tell me about the shoulder again. And I went, oh. And then I realized, and I sort of went to touch the shoulder and then, no, don't touch it. Don't touch it. And from that day on, I never touched it again. So when he would ask me about it, and I don't know whether he was asking me on purpose or it was like just being friendly as well, or maybe it wasn't the hypnotherapy guy, but he said, tell me about your shoulder. And I'd go, it's fantastic. Fantastic. And just to fast forward, when I did Ocean 7 and I launched my book, so my book's called Man vs. Ocean, and I did a book launch and he was there and he said to me, how's the injuries? How's the shoulder? And I said, absolutely amazing. Never been better. And he said, oh, so it's improved then? I went, no, it's always been amazing. And then he just laughed and went, why am I asking this question? Because he generally was like seeing if I was better off the record sort of thing. I was like, no, it's always been amazing. But I use that ethos with all the swims. So In Hawaii, for example, I got stung by a Portuguese Man O War, lost feeling in my spine. 13 and a half hours into the swim, started to vomit again because of the poison, because they got similar poison to a cobra snake, can shut down your organs and can kill you. And I was going back. First of all, I went back for 4 hours. Then I went sideways. Then I was stung. And then I'm in this sort of shock. My body's in full shock. Spine's gone numb. And my brain has gone, you're finished. I don't care how many training sessions you've completed, Adam. You're absolutely finished. So how are you going to carry on with this? I don't care. And the devil's like massive, angel's tiny, and saying, stay in the game, Adam, stay in the game. And I tried 3 swims to carry on. And I thought, swim for a minute. That was the deal with myself. Just do some for a minute. Everyone can do something for a minute, no matter how much pain you're in. I lasted 30 seconds yelling, try again. Second attempt, 30 seconds, agony. Third attempt, forget this. Get to the boat. It's about a minute and a half away, 30 meters or whatever it was. Drag your torso past it. And I swam to the boat. They leant over to get me out. I smiled at them. And then I carried on. I got this big shiver down my spine, thinking I'm going to carry on. And then what I did was I had a system. The pain is unbelievable. The most pain I've ever had in my life, like a 3rd-degree burn, like being scolded, tortured, I don't know, just a torture feeling. Stung several times. Tentacles are up to 120 feet long, stung lots of times. And that burning, I visualized using my mate Clem's way of thinking as a warm blanket. Because I remember him saying it in English Channel. Imagine you got a warm blanket around you, and while you got that warm blanket, you can't be cold. And he said, imagine a dragon, and you're blowing fire into the water, and you've got a warm ring you're swimming in, and every time you breathe out, you're heating up that ring. And if you're warm, you can't think you're not warm, and if you're strong, you can't think you're not strong. And if you're not mentioning the word, you can't exist, can it, in your mind? So I used all this, and I then started thinking that I was warm, even though the burning was, on fire. And then I started thanking the ocean for this test and this challenge. So I was actually saying, while shaking like this, thank you for testing me. Thank you for giving me this challenge. I get it. You want me to do this to grow. You want me to do it to become a better swimmer so I will get past the other ones. And then I started thinking, what will it do with my life? Because if I can take this amount of pain and get through it, what else can I do? Because at this point, I'm doing a job that I don't really want to do, if I'm being honest. There's nothing wrong with it, but it's just not in my heart. Swimming leveled Adam up, gave me this balance. But it started to open my mind of what's capable. And that was the reward that the stings and the pain gave me, coupled with the fact of Clem's mantras and the visualization, and pain lasts for a minute, success lasts for a lifetime, going through my head all the time, any motivational things that I've ever heard of. And I really learned about the power of positive thinking, because while you're thinking positive, you can't think negative. You can't think of positive and negative at the same time. So if you flood your mind through positivity and you tell yourself you're going to do it, you can't think you're not going to do it. And if you tell yourself you're warm, you can't think no, you're not warm. And if you tell yourself that your shoulder is fantastic and you're indestructible, you can't think anything else.
And that's a really big lesson for anybody listening to this podcast or watching it, isn't it? That the power of visualization and the power of having a mantra that you can attach to, and actually how powerful that is on a physiological level. Extraordinary, isn't it? I mean, and
Yeah.
Adam, for a lot of people, they won't necessarily know what the Ocean Sevens Challenge is, and will now be rushing off to Google to find out. But could you just explain what it is and what the 7 oceans are, or the particular swim challenges are around that challenge itself?
Yeah, of course, yeah. And I'll give you some of my experiences with it as well. There's a guy called Steve Munatones who is well respected in the marathon swimming world. And he decided that there's 7 toughest ocean swims in the world, the equivalent of the 7 summits. I guess the number 7. Red Bull classed it as the toughest extreme challenge on the planet, because you're dealing with a number of different elements. So obviously people recognize England to France, this channel. You've got extreme COLD. You've got sickness, you've got unpredictable tides and currents. There's Gibraltar Straits, Spain to Morocco. I decided to go there and back again. I don't like ferries, so I thought I'd swim back. Saw the opportunity. No British person had ever swam there and back. And the challenge with that is very strong currents, particularly on the way back. On the way there is strong, but I didn't realize how strong on the way back. So it took me 3.5 hours one way, and it took me 6 hours 14 on the way back. You've also got potential marine life. And you've got a temperature drop. So when you get from the Med to the Atlantic, Mediterranean is quite a bit warmer, and it drops up to 4 degrees once you hit the Atlantic. So you're in the middle of Gibraltar, say 2 hours in, and then you feel it suddenly drop, which when you get that heat drop, when you're tired, that makes a big difference. Unassisted, like all the swims, in your trunks, one swim hat, just you versus the ocean, really. Man versus ocean, which is why my book was called that. And then once I'd done Gibraltar, which is Europe to Africa and back again, I heard about Ocean 7. I didn't know about it before that. And I realized I'd done 2 of them and there was 5 to go. I'd recently, after Gibraltar Straits, had an operation to do Gibraltar Straits, because the whole thing was with my bad shoulder. What happened is I saw a surgeon, and it was about 18 months later after the English Channel in 2008. So I had this gap of 2 years trying to rehabilitate. And it turns out I had a rupture of the bicep tendon. And what happened in those 2 years is the body tried to heal itself. And what was a 45-minute operation turned into 3.5 hours. And when I got out the operation, he said, "Do you ever want to swim again?" The surgeon. I said, "Yeah, I want to swim from Spain to Morocco." And he joked. He said, No, Adam, that is never going to happen. I mean, for leisure, like on holiday, do you want to swim again? Because we have to have a second operation to check. Otherwise, you won't be able to use it. And I said, well, Spain to Morocco is leisure for me. And then he laughed and we had this joke, and we had 6 weeks of the first operation. And I've still got this as a motivator, his document that says partial success. Operation was a partial success. Mobility, 60 to 70%. Tried to unstick a tendon that was stuck, caused another tear, had to fix that, and didn't give me a chance, really. So then I thought, I have a decision, because do I give this up as a bad job? Do I listen to the surgeon, or do I find a way to carry on? And so what I decided to do was basically learn to swim again. I've been a swim coach since I was 18, but the conventional way. So I looked at how the body moved and went on feel initially of, if I rotate more, it takes pressure off. If I rotate more, the front arm will drop in without me spearing the arm. That hurt me. If I'm on my side, the shoulder's much higher, so I have natural elevation, so I don't have to lift. I can go low and sweep around the side. So all these things were working out. I have a sports science degree as well. Started studying other sports, looked at kayaking. Kayaking says put the paddle in, hips, initiate the hips and let the paddle follow the hips. But yet swimming's chest and shoulders. Why? Because it's the same sort of movement. And tennis is hips, then the racket. And throwing is hips, then throwing the ball. So everything is hips first to create the power. So I thought, if tennis is that way, why can't swimming be that way, using the hip and like kayaking, as I say. So I started studying this, looking at sports and looking at physiology. And I then created this new way of swimming, completely different to how I swam before, which took pressure off the body, which then gave me the confidence to go there and back. So that's why I decided to go Gibraltar Straits there and back. That decision was a strange one, because I felt like it's half the distance of the English Channel, 35 kilometers of the English Channel. It was half of it. It felt like, is it as much of a challenge? And then I thought there and back makes it a bigger challenge, because the tides and the currents, you've only got 8 miles of coastline and you get pushed out to the Atlantic. So with my new technique, which was work in progress, I managed to break the British record one way and then go there and back. Then Ocean 7 came about, and I thought, well, with my new technique and my shoulders fixed up a bit, 2 operations. Okay, it's not right, still not 100%, but with this new technique, can I do these other swims? And the next one was Molokai Straits in Hawaii, 29 kilometers on paper, the longest one. Why that is such a challenge is the Pacific, sharks, Portuguese Man O War, which I explained, being stung, box jellyfish, you've got sharks, tiger shark, all different types of sharks, and you can be in the dark. So again, unassisted, warm water. So that was the one positive. But when I arrived actually on that one, very quick story, the pilot was telling me that I couldn't go in at 3 a.m. because what had happened is, to explain it, I flew in. I was supposed to have 5 days acclimatizing to get used to the time zone, 18-hour flight, big, hour gap from the UK. And literally the next day, he rings me. I arrive at 2 a.m, rings me at 7 a.m. saying, we're going to go tomorrow. I said, what do you mean we're going to go tomorrow? What do you mean? We've got 5 days. I've only just flown in. He said, well, the weather's going to be really bad, so it's up to you. You might miss out. I said, well, do you think I have a chance? He said, 50-50. I said, okay, 50-50, that's fine again. So I thought, there's the sign, get the plane. I had to get the last 4 plane tickets to fly from Molokai. So it's from Oahu to Molokai, and you have to swim back. So you get the plane ride, 45-minute flight, and you swim back. Get the accommodation. The hotel was on fire, which was another one, which was strange. So there was no rooms, and I was waiting for them to come back. So it was a really bit of a mess. So I wasn't really prepared. And I went through Portuguese Man O War stings and, going sideways for 5 hours and 17 hours and, looked like Freddy Krueger and attacked me. If anyone wants to Google Adam Walker Man O War sting, you'll see all these lacerations and big swelling.
We'll get the photographs up here, Adam. We'll get the photographs up here.
Yeah.
They are extraordinary. Yeah.
So that,
awful.
but that was not the most structured because of, last minutes. And that's the thing about this sport, what people don't realize. There's no guarantee you'll go on any given day. So you're doing something that is life-changing that you want so bad, and you have a call in the morning and they go, no, we're not going today. I'll call you tomorrow. Or it's bad for a couple of days. Enjoy yourself in Hawaii. We'll come back to you. That is what you have to face. How on earth can you enjoy yourself when you've got it on your mind? But fortunately, as I say, I arrived. I remember 6 hours into that swim, so tired, thinking, what have I decided to do here? All this money, all this time. And then pure determination, or stubbornness, as I like to call it, got me across because I couldn't see any other way than getting across. I felt that was in the stars.
And that was the swing where you had the Portuguese Man O War attack, isn't it? Or
Yes.
incident.
Yeah, that was
encounter.
after 13 and a half hours. So to give you some context, after 9 hours, I'm faced with 3 miles to shore. And I've gone through a lot of tiredness, like almost fallen asleep, because obviously I've gone 24 hours later from landing. I've done an 18-hour flight, and then I've swam 17 hours. So I've nearly swam as long as the plane ride, but tired, no sleep. So when I flew across to the island, we arrived at 8, 9 o'clock at night. Bear in mind, I've only just landed at 2 in the morning and couldn't sleep for the time zone. So I stayed awake, woke myself up at 1 a.m., maybe an hour's sleep, got my drinks bottles ready. I've got my team, 3 of them actually there was, and decided to do it on a bit of a whim, really. But I thought, I'm here now. And the guy said, the other things that happened as well is the shark concern, but I managed to find a guy who had these shark units, and apparently they keep sharks away. It's like smelling salts for sharks. It doesn't damage them, but it's like vibrations they don't like. So this guy was very excited to give me, put one around the ankle, and that weighs a kilo. So I had to swim 17 hours with a kilo around my ankle. That ran out after 8 hours. The light comes out and you have to get another one. And then that was passed over the side because it activates when it hits water, and I'm not allowed to get out. So I'm trying to lift my leg up, trying to put this around the ankle because I can't touch the boat. And then I'm holding it at the side. I can't remember where to hold it. This is after 8 hours, so I'm pretty tired as well. And it hits the water and I go, I start to get electrocuted over and over, trying to put this damn thing around my ankle, which weighs a kilo. But I thought, electrocution versus being bitten by a shark is probably better. So I'll tolerate it. And that's how the journey went. So it was a crazy thing. And 9 hours, I'm faced with the finish. And I hear him say, he's going to break the world record, which is under 12 hours. Then I went backwards for 3 hours. Then I went sideways for 2 hours. Then I got stung by the Man O War. Then I had 3.5 hours sideways of agony of my whole body shaking. So I learned a lot. So when people say, what was the best thing that happened to you and the worst thing? I think it was that. I had lots of amazing adventures, but that, because it really defined me as a person, I think. I'm not very good at talking about, you've done this and done that. And I think that's why I joke a lot about it. I want people to know it's possible. They've got their own Ocean 7. They might look at me and go, he's done this and he's been stung and he's so tough. And, life's simple. If you just make it simple, you were capable of all of these things if we want it bad enough.
Right. And that was your story, isn't it? That's the story that you were sitting on an airplane and now you're in Hawaii working from minute to minute, having been stung by a Portuguese Man O War, going sideways on the Ocean 7. It's that first step that you were talking about right at the beginning of our chat today.
The toughest thing, and sorry, I haven't told you the other swims. I got, digressed into that, but I think it's important to know what happened there. For me, the hardest thing today was booking the English Channel. Harder than being stung by Portuguese Man O War and losing feeling in my spine. And I swam with one arm the Catalina Channel for 7 hours. I got chased by sharks and across the Cook Strait. I got stung by lion's mane jellyfish from Ireland to Scotland. But the hardest thing was booking that because I hadn't got a clue how capable I was. So I booked it, paid £1,000 on the premise that I could get to that level and that I could find a way to be that open water swimmer, because someone has to start somewhere. It was almost that kind of blasé sort of attitude, really. But I don't think it was blasé. I think it was Adam wanted to be laid bared and let's see what he's capable of. He loves sport. He loves pushing himself. He doesn't feel like he's really turned into the Adam he wants to be. So let's find out on this journey who he really is. And just to finish off the swims, after Molokai, there's the Catalina Channel, which is off mainland Los Angeles, 21 miles. You swim in the dark, 6 hours in the dark, Pacific, same as Hawaii. So you've got sharks again. And you imagine doing that 3 months after being stung by a man of war, when everything you touch, you think you're going to get stung. I swam with one arm for 7.5 hours. I went halfway with two arms, 4 hours, and it was almost double when my shoulder packed in for the second time. But I thought to myself, at least it's not as bad as a Portuguese Man O War sting, and you've got another arm. So every time that one arm came round, 70,000 strokes, 35,000 on the bad arm. I had LA fire service cheering me on, which gave me a lot of hope. But the pain is subjective if you can get to that place. So completed that 12 hours, 15 minutes. And then I moved on to Tsugaru Chan, Japan, strongest currents in the world, which is why it's on the list. Really volatile weather, also sharks. And that can be taken out your hand for the first half hour if the tide pushes you. And that was equally as difficult as Hawaii for a different reason, because after 4 hours, the pilot told me I needed to go as fast as I could. And I said, how long for? And he said, till I tell you to stop. I said, well, can you give me an ID? He said, we'll start with half an hour. 15.5 hours I had to push with these waves and buried under the waves with just trying to, I had almost like a different breathing pattern. My heart rate was maybe 170, survival mode. And to give you context to the Tsugaru Channel, they actually built a tunnel system underground so people don't have to use ferries, because over 1,500 people have drowned out there with ferries capsizing. That's how tough it is. Hokkaido to Honshu in northern Japan. It's really, you get a bullet train very north. And then the last two was Cook Strait in New Zealand, which separates New Zealand, North to South Island. More juvenile great whites cross through there than anywhere else in the world. And if people want to Google Adam Walker or the footage, it's called on YouTube, they'll see the dolphins and they'll see me swimming. They won't see the shark, unfortunately, because that was down underneath. But after 3 hours, I remember again being sick in that swim. And 2 days in after arriving again, because of the way the window was, the weather was, what I tried to do was go at the start of the window. What I mean is there's a tide window of 5 days. And because it was holiday for me as well, I want to get in the most amount of time to make sure I've got the best chance of doing it. Fortunately or unfortunately for me, it was always at the start. So I've done a massive flight and then he's telling me, here's your window. I completed that swim, 8 hours, 36 minutes, still the latest anyone's ever done it, which is the COLDEST. Anyone's done it. Massive wind, end of April. No one's ever done it end of April. Blowing a gale. It's so difficult when the wind is blowing on your skin and the water temperature was 14 degrees. As I say, after 3 hours, dolphins are there, sharks underneath me. I realized it was a shark moving differently, sort of going from side to side. And when I stopped for my drink every half hour, the dolphins stop. And then this happens for an hour and a half on next one. Absolutely incredible having a dolphin eyeball you at the side of your face for 10 minutes, just so close to me. And what makes it even more special is my charity's Whale and Dolphin Conservation. So I did all the swims in order to spread awareness of protecting whales and dolphins. And then they came to my aid, which makes it really, really special. It gave me a massive spiritual moment that I've never had in my life before. Get my skin is, you can see it, the hair's coming up now. There's a picture, it makes me quite emotional actually. And there's a picture of a dolphin in midair, which you'll see if you Google Adam Walker dolphins, you'll see the picture. And actually my life changed from there. I went back to the day job. I was working for Indesit. So I still was in the corporate world doing the normal day job, training before and after work, selling washing machines. I looked after curries as a sales guy, got back to the desk, had this spiritual moment, doing some talks for people, telling them to fulfill their dreams. And I thought, am I doing the same? And then it packed in the career, really, the 15-year career to do something I really was passionate about, which was telling people the stories and becoming a swim coach. And we launched the brand Ocean Walker. I still had one swim left, which was Ireland to Scotland. And that's extreme COLD, so worse than any of the others. That's 13 degrees. And lines made jellyfish up to 120 feet long. And actually on that one was the first flat conditions. But I actually wanted it to be rough because the jellyfish come to the surface when it's flat and the tentacles You're getting stung everywhere. At one point, I was so barricaded in, I had to swim backwards back to, I was going Ireland to Scotland, and I actually started swimming back to Ireland and going, no, Scotland's that way. I was like, but there's jellyfish everywhere. My team are saying, shut up and keep swimming. I thought, easy for you to say, because a lion's mane jellyfish, if you get stung enough times, you're hospitalized. But the good thing about a lion's mane jellyfish is it's not as bad as a Portuguese man o' war. If that stings you, that can finish you off and paralyze you, whereas a lion's mane, several stings. So I was trying to put it into perspective. But I remember, Barry, that last final swim in, and as I said, I'd already thought about the move to leave the job and launch Ocean Walker coaching. It was so completed in my mind. It was finished. Nothing was going to stop me. And I was visualizing, what's the work going to look like? What's my company going to look like? How am I going to spread this stroke, which takes pressure off the body, helps people for injuries, makes them more efficient? How am I going to do that? So I was kind of daydreaming about this as I was going to swim in. And I remember again, I thrust 3 kilometers. It was an hour and a half. I was going to break the record. And suddenly I got snapped out of it by my partner shouting, the tide's turned. You need to go faster. I thought, gosh, Ocean, you have to have that last word once again. Because I saw the ocean as a best friend. Sometimes we got on, sometimes it would punish me, but it's given me everything. And he or she had to have the last say in it, which is, you're not going to break the record and we're going to push you sideways and we're going to make it tough in the end. And so I had to sprint in and I cleared the water and I had my British flag, and my brother had traveled 6 hours to Scotland to meet me. And I didn't know he was there. And I had this special moment and it changed my life. And then what accelerated after that was the coaching. I travel the world coaching this technique. I've coached people like the Prince of Bahrain and Novak Djokovic, and name dropping, but people you would know. And it's like 2 different Adams. There's Adam who worked at Indesit, who looked out at a derelict factory on his laptop. And then there's Adam who started traveling the world coaching and doing something he was scared of, which was public speaking. And now, get invited to do talks, which is incredible. And I absolutely appreciate it, because 20-year-old Adam would be still scared of that moment. So yeah, it's strange how life has these, ebbs and flows. Very, very grateful. That's why I'm very passionate about what I do. I even have my own goggles and swimwear, Adam, who sold kettles and toasters.
And the bit of the story you haven't told our dear listener and viewer, Adam, is about the property that you happened to buy and the circumstances under which you bought it and what you've subsequently done with it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing with dreams.
This is an interesting one, folks. Listen in.
Yeah, this is another Adam Walker strange story. Yeah, I mean, the thing is with dreams, they don't have to end, do they? So I had this dream over 7 to 8 years of doing Ocean 7. That was my world. And then when I finished, it would then became the coaching. And then after the coaching, I went full-time 2014. And then in 2016, I launched my book and I'm in this high of everything. And I think, God, this sport's done so much for me. And we were renting a house. So I didn't own my own house. And I thought, wouldn't it be good to maybe have a swim tank or something where I could coach people? I was trying to get ideas of buying a house. Anyway, whilst I'm thinking of ideas, my partner goes to the hairdresser, and the hairdresser shows her this facility, which I passed every day and I didn't know it was in this woodland. And it was a 1-acre lake, and it had a cabin that overlooked the lake, and it looked like Canada. And I was like, stop the car. Oh my God, we've got to buy it. She went, what are you talking about? You don't know how much it is? And we've only gone self-employed. How are you going to be able to afford it? To my partner. I said, no, we've got to buy it. You were supposed to send me. So anyway, someone was interested in it. And I phoned up the estate agent and I said, I want to buy this house. I didn't know how I was going to get the money, by the way, or how it was going to happen. And they said, oh, I'm sorry, somebody else has put an offer in. I put the phone, I went, no, this isn't supposed to happen. And then 2 months later, I was coming back from America in a swim camp. And the phone, there was a voice message saying, do you want to come and visit this place tentatively, because they haven't bought it yet? So I went to visit the place and I said to the guy, I'm going to buy your house. I 100% guarantee I'll buy it. And they said, have you got the money? I said, I'll get the money. Looked at it 4 or 5 times in a week. I'm going to buy it. I signed on with a solicitor because they said, if you pay the money for solicitor, and the surveys will set to you. So I did all that really quickly. Survey of the house, solicitor, bang, 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 bang. And then they went quiet and they let this guy come back in. And I lost out by a few hours on this place. My partner comes back from walking the dogs and I said to her, gosh, I don't know how to tell you, but the place is gone. And she was in tears. I had about 10 seconds and I said, stuff it. I think I used a different word, to be honest. And I don't swear. Stuff it. We'll build our own. And then 7 days later, I was looking at all these properties. And every time I looked, this disused goat farm, 17 acres, kept popping up. And my partner said, what are we going to do with 17 acres? I said, we'll build a bigger lake. We'll build it 10 times bigger than that other one that we lost out on. So that was the motivation. And I looked at it and it was a real mess. I mean, I'm sure you'll show the pictures. I'm sitting in the barn now looking at the lake. And I remember Gemma, my partner's dad, saying, there's a lot of work here, mate. It was like a barn falling down. There was geese poo everywhere. I couldn't get to my front door. There was a massive hedge across the 10-acre field. What happened is when we visited it, my partner looked at the house. I wasn't interested in the house. I went straight through the middle of it, opened the sliding doors, saw 10 acres and went, it's there. There's the lake. And that was the moment. So I had to lose out. And there's another lesson, isn't it? I had to lose out on my dream place to find something that was even better that I could never imagine in landlocked Lincoln. Not, we're not near, I'm not near the sea, or I'm not landlocked Lincoln. It's flat. And this rare property came up and it took me to, spend a bunch of money, get gazumped really on this. Even the solicitor felt sorry for me. The banks who were going to lend me the money was in tears, the lady. I got them all lined up doing ocean walker poses and, bought into the dream. They were all in tears.
Yeah.
And then when I found this place and came back to them, they were like, yes, things happen for a reason. And so we bought it. We went to work on it. Took me 2 years to get through planning. I had Wildlife Trust on my back and Woodland Trust and Natural England and Neighbours. And then eventually after 2 years, I had my Martin Luther King speech in the council house, where I have 3 minutes to tell him why I want it. And I said, I think I'm here because a few people don't want it, versus the thousands and thousands that wait in the wings for me to help achieve their dreams and to help their well-being. Because I'm going to make this fantastic. And that's what we did. We built a 10-acre lake, dug out 32,000 cubic meters of clay. The vision was a well-being centre. It was to leave a legacy, I guess, if that's not too strong, something behind. The sport that changed my life, I wanted to leave something behind when I'm gone, because money's money, isn't it? So this really helps people. We have people doing swimming. We have retreats, well-being retreats. We have sauna dips. We have a dome where you can do stargazing and crystal healing. We've got, I was looking behind me, crystals. Should have got one out to show you where we found them in the lake. 1 sec. I don't know whether you can hold for 1 second. This is what we found in the lake. Lots of these. So this is calcite crystal. It's a well-being anti-stress crystal. And we're the only place, I think, well, certainly in the UK, but maybe the world, that does healing with our own crystals found in the ground when we dug it out.
Yeah.
But it's been one hell of a journey. Probably harder than Ocean 7, or certainly as difficult, because you're dealing with people and I'm not in control of it. But if you believe you're in control of it and you show enough passion, I think you can get anything done, even when it's counsellors. Sorry, counsellors.
And Adam, as we come to the end of the time, there are going to be people going, well, it's all very well for Adam Walker. And all the sort of excuses will come out of why they are feeling challenged, not pursuing their visions, haven't got a purpose-driven vision. If you were to leave a summary for people who are facing challenges or just a brick wall that they can't get through, what's your thoughts?
I'm normal. So you've heard this guy talk about Ocean 7, and you might think that I'm not normal and that I'm extra special or something. I was selling toasters not that long ago, and just a normal guy, not doing sport, nothing extraordinary about me, injuries, this sort of thing. And then I decided to do something, and I decided to put something in place to see how capable I was. Because it's so easy to say, well, that's Adam and he's a different breed. The old Adam, which is lived longer than this one, if you like, this new Adam, was perfectly average, if you like, and normal, whatever you want to call it. Nothing spectacular. I think the thing is, if you want something bad enough, then it's an easy path. It really is. I know you would have heard people say this before, but first of all, it's what do you want to do? What do you want to do with your life? It's about being happy. That's the thing. It doesn't matter that I've done 7 ocean swims. People call me ocean walker. I'm just Adam. Swimming doesn't define me. I'm not the ocean swimmer. I just decided to do something. It happened to be ocean swimming. It happened to be a movie on an aeroplane. I wasn't born to be an ocean swimmer. That's not in my DNA. People think it is, but it's not. I just decided I wanted to make some steps. Life is one big challenge. Everything you go through, every swim that I did, and I learned I'm going to feel sick. I'm going to have barriers in place. I'm going to be sore at times. It shouldn't be a surprise, because when you do something a little bit different and you push yourself, and nothing great is achieved without a little bit of discomfort. And you will have heard it said before. So if you are willing to go out your comfort zone, and if you're willing to make that step and see who you are and what you're about, then I'm telling you, great things come your way. I'm sitting in a 17-acre lake. I had to work hard for it. People say out there, you're so lucky. You're so lucky to have this. I had 3 years of a little bit of discomfort, let's call it, because I don't want to go big on it. But a lot of challenges in the way. You're so lucky. And I am lucky, but you create your own luck. So just push yourself. Don't just sit there. Don't think things are going to come your way. It absolutely won't. But once you know the formula, that if you are willing to take that step and go for that dream, whether it's training, whether it's changing careers, whether it's changing mindset, even the way you act, start with the way you act. Let's be positive. People say, I don't get it. How you doing? Not bad, not bad. How many times people say not bad? I go, fantastic. Just come back from India and the Maldives coaching. I was in the co-op. How you doing, Adam? I'm absolutely fantastic. And the look of surprise. You're fantastic. Okay, good to hear it. Like it's a shock, because we're supposed to say not bad and we're supposed to have problems. Why? We are going to get challenges. We are going to get issues, of course. But there's always a way. There's a key to each door. You just got to find it, and you got to put a path in place. You've got to be positive. Surround yourself with positive people. Forget those people dragging you down. The emotional vampires. They're everywhere. No one can touch me. I've got this beam around me where no emotional vampires let in. Keep your circle close, make them positive, and you can do it.
A perfect summary from Adam Walker, Ocean Walker. And there'll be links to all Adam's facilities and his
come and see us at the Ocean Walk Academy. The salesman is here. Come on. We've got retreats for businesses. We've got Adam Walker doing talks. Come on. Let's feel the energy. Sorry, Barry, I had to do it.
Do it. Do it, folks. Dear listener, dear viewer, you've heard it from Adam Walker. Be there. Make the booking now. It'll be in the link below. Adam Walker, great fun, Adam. Really enjoyed it and hugely inspirational. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much. Loved it.
Welcome to the Success Consultancy. My name is Barry Eustace, Principal Consultant. I just want to talk you through what we do, how we do it, and why it's important to you. We're offering a service that is coaching for business leaders. And in the footsteps of the great coaches, we have developed our coaching program to ensure that you as a business leader feel not only that you're supported and have a full service consultancy at your disposal, but that we're able to speak on a one-to-one basis to provide you with the essential space, the objective insight, and the time to rise above the noise so that you can really benefit from our one-to-one coaching, which is really about a partnership between you and, in this case, me or one of our strategic partners, dependent upon which particular discipline you may feel we need to bring in as an additional resource. So it's a personal service. It's about supporting you as a business leader to actually give you that time, give you the space, give you the opportunity to have time where you can reflect, you can seek independent, objective, informed insight, as you would expect from any professional coach who really understands what it means to build successful and effective businesses. So I look forward to speaking to you very, very soon. Please just call me on the telephone number on this page and we can speak and set up our first meeting together. Thank you very much indeed. So that's it for today's Just Great People podcast from the Success Consultancy. We hope and trust you've enjoyed it. Please join us next time and please do remember to subscribe. Thanks for joining us.